I've been thinking a lot about death since Venerable Chödrön's brilliant talk last Thursday, where she spent time unpacking the verses in Arya Deva's 400 stanzas text. And it isn't certainly like we haven't heard these teachings before, but every time she talks about death, another little fragment of wisdom enters my mind. And I see how profound my own ignorance is about my perspective of the fact that I'm going to die. And I know I'm going to die. I mean, everyone in this room knows we're going to die. But there is this ongoing denial, which I find so striking. And so, if you really want to understand this topic, go to Venerable's talk. At the end of this particular video, Ruby tells me that there are links where you can find her talk from last Thursday, May 2nd. But one of the things that really got my attention was when she was talking about verse 2. And just to sum up verse 2, it's the fact that we feel like we're in an active living and dying comes later, much later. And it also happens to other people. Well, I know this isn't true, but I think I still have this feeling that I have a lot of lifetime left. And what do I hinge this on? Well, I have some really good friends, Fred and Margaret. And Fred and Margaret are both 90 this year. In fact, Margaret turned 90 last November. And they're going strong. They hike in the summer, they ski all winter. They're both sharp, and they both love being with people and contributing and finding out about the world. So just by the fact of me knowing Margaret and Fred, I think that I'm going to live for a long time. Or if I do what they do, and that's staying very active and very engaged, this too will ensure a long life for me. This is nutty. This is crazy thinking. So then another verse that Venerable Chödrön mentioned was in verse 5, the idea that we know that sickness can be cured quite often, not always, and that aging can be treated. So this is how I think of aging. It can be treated. And it can be treated by doing just what Margaret and Fred do. They stay active, they eat healthy food, they walk to the shopping store. These 90-year-olds get their little bags and they walk a mile one way to the store. So if I walk a lot in the forest, for sure, I'm going to stay alive. I just can't believe how, I'm going to say the word, stupid. Stupid's not politically correct anymore. This is stupidity. It is such denial. So then I was thinking about this poem that a friend just sent to me. I'm not going to read the whole poem. It's called When Death Comes. I'm going to read the last 5 lines and how striking this is, and maybe this will spark something in your mind if you're having the same problem of denial that I am. So this is how it goes. When it's over, I don't want to wonder if I have made of my life something particular and real. I don't want to find myself sighing and frightened or full of argument. I don't want to end up simply having visited this world. And it's that last line that just was the thunderbolt in my brain, in my mind this week. I don't want to end up simply having visited this world. And actually, prior to hearing any of the Buddhist teachings, this is what I was. I was a combination of a tourist and a buffalo. So first of all, I'll talk about the tourist. You know, I wanted to see every country in the world. By age 23, I'd seen 16 countries. I had a passport to show it. And I thought I was really, living life to the fullest. And I was wondering why it was just so unsatisfactory. I was constantly dissatisfied. Every single country that we went to in 9 weeks, seeing 16 countries, there was something magnificent and wonderful to see. And it also was very humbling to see the richness that people bring to their lives. You know, when you go to museums, you see the richness of societies. But there was something just missing deep inside. This was not filling that angst. And then when I think of myself, I'm also like a buffalo. Now, buffaloes have very short legs, so I'm not very big. Buffalo can move very quickly. So it used to be when I was in trouble, I could move very quickly. And buffalo have this mind that all they want to do when they get up in the morning is eat And they look after their young very, very well. They're very community-oriented creatures. I used to walk down the road in front of my parents' house, and one of the neighbors had a herd of buffalo. And when there were babies in the spring, I'd be walking on the road, and this herd of buffalo would see myself and my parents' dog, and they'd all go like this. And they would all come over to the fence, and thank heavens there was a fence there, and then they would make a ring around the little babies. And so they're very community-minded people, and they're really looking out for the young. And I think that's about the extent of my capacity as a human being before I met the Dharma. I was very concerned about protecting my family and not seeing the big picture. And there's another thing about buffalo that I learned when I was a historical interpreter. There's something called a buffalo jump, and maybe you've heard of this. And so, you know, for the North American Indian people who are, traveling people, the Plains Indians depended on the buffalo for most of their life. And so what they would do is they would start gathering the buffalo in a group and getting them in a direction towards a drop-off area. And the buffalo, of course, are just looking out to the horizon, and they don't see the drop-off. And just slowly, the people in the tribe would sort of get them walking at first in this direction, and then they'd make sure that this land formation sort of came into a funnel. And pretty soon they would have the buffalo on a gallop, going quite quickly as they were chasing them. And the buffalo, all they see is the horizon. They don't see this cliff that's coming up. And so the people in the middle of the pack, of course, have no idea what's going on. The people in the pack have no idea what's going on. And the tragic thing is that the buffalo at the very front, they see the cliff edge just before they plunge over it. So how am I like a buffalo like that? Well, again, before meeting the Dharma, I was just going with the herd mentality, looking out for myself, taking care of those around me, and just being pushed, not really realizing that every moment of my life, I'm heading towards that cliff that I'm pretending not to see, because we know we're going to die, but we pretend not to see it. So I encourage you to listen to Venerable Chögyin's teachings on this topic, and also do the Lam Rim meditations on it, and to see if you too have this kind of denial where it happens to other people and it's a long way off. And every moment right now is the moment we need to practice.